Oh, it's all there. Okay, cool. Well, let's just assume that everything's working, and I will get started on something or other here. Um, so I'm probably going to be doing a bunch of miscellaneous junk today because I'm kind of in between various things. So I don't know if it'll be the most entertaining stream of all time. I might do a little more of the effects animation stuff I was working on last week, magic missiles and so forth. Um, but I was also, Kobe, you're going to hate me. I was starting to make a list of visual effects juice, as I'm calling it, to add to the game by packs and putting it in your to-do list. So, so you can feel free to like scream in agony for all of the viewers if you want. Yeah, it's all on the polish list. What's that? Yep. Is that going to be possible as a multiply blend mode? Or screen, if that doesn't work, I'll put a note in here. If it's easier, you can either... Huh? Well, just flash a solid color for anyone who can't handle it. You can't flash a solid color across the entire screen?
It takes 12 milliseconds to render one frame on that laptop. I timed it yesterday.
I don't know if you guys can hear Kobe at all. And apparently it says it's loading the video again. I have no idea what's wrong with Twitch today. Um, uh, I think that is how many people have favorited us or something. I don't know. Yep. Twitch, please work. Okay, let's see. What else do we need to add to this list? Okay, well, now Twitch says we have 124 viewers, so I guess I should do something interesting, huh? Instead of looking at spreadsheets. So, hi, 124 viewers that I think are fake because Twitch is being really weird today. Yeah, so we're gonna draw some effects or something. So, I've been working on some different magic effects. I worked on the magic missile last week. Actually, let me turn on these color overlays and stuff. So all the fake 124, 142 viewers, now it says, uh, can see what I've been doing here. So, and yeah, so we would do some tinting, something like this on the magic missile. Probably you should turn that down a little bit. And these pieces could move independently. So imagine kind of floaty, spinny crystals of stuff cycling around this like a comet. Um, so yeah, I'm kind of piecing this stuff together. Some of this will have to be animated at some point. Probably not going to do a ton of animation today, although I might, because that could be kind of fun. But the real item I want to work on today is damage effects. So I'm going to make a new folder somewhere up here. So I'd like to do something that differentiates between the different damage types we have, which are slashing, piercing, crushing, so on and so on. So probably going to throw some kind of a multiply layer on here to dim this down a little bit and see what we can come up with. So what I'd like to do is figure out whenever you whack an enemy with a weapon, what set of effects do we need to create here to make it really appear like they were just damaged? We're probably going to throw some kind of light on them. And let's just say that light is kind of purple tinged. We'll set to our color dodge blend mode, which is fairly accurate for how the game looks. So we would do something like this, maybe set it to lower opacity. The enemy themselves would probably get tinted a little bit. And this has to be set to multiply mode. So tint the enemy slightly, throw a light on them, and actually I'll turn this semi-opaque layer down a little bit so we probably more accurately simulate the darkness of the game here. So yeah, so normal, damaged. Well, actually, this would be normal, and then POW damage, which I think is pretty good. Might want to tint this a little more reddish. Yeah, something like that maybe. Actually, I need to grab that color. And let's just say we throw some particles, some sparks, so to speak, off of here. Kind of like blood, but not literally blood, or I need to redden that up a little bit. And I want some of these to be pretty big so they're more noticeable. Right now, you can tell when you damage things, but we need a bit more of a heavy effect occurring. Let's check the comments really quick. Okay, so some of these. This is probably a little overdone for what you would actually see in the game. So I might cut a few of these out really quick. And then we would need some kind of a generic hit. Well, actually, I'm trying to figure out, should this be generic or not. So basically, if this dude just got hit with slashing damage, we probably want some kind of an effect here that looks like that. This would be in addition to whatever weapon blur type stuff your weapon is doing. And actually, we probably need this to sort of spray out from this origin point a little more than what it's currently doing. I think since we're going top down, it might make more sense if it actually sort of sprays away from the direction from which the hit occurred. So let's say let's see, if the point of impact was right here on the enemy's collision box, or the character's collision box for that matter. So actually their collision box would be more like down here. So we're kind of looking at spraying particles out of that point. And I think we need some additional effect. There might be a few of these at sort of a random size and placement. But I do think we're going to need some kind of a generic sort of white damage epicenter. I don't want it to go super cartoony, but there are only so many ways you can draw this kind of thing, showing like, oh, damage occurred at this point. probably want a few just white sparks that come off of the weapon impact. So really we kind of have two effects going here. One of them is the weapon impact. One of them is showing what damage type just occurred, and one of them is effectively the enemy being damaged. So these kind of blood marks and the color on the character itself would be showing like, oh, I just took damage, and possibly to what degree. Let's see. So So you guys were maybe talking about, Doomspeaker was asking if I use the Gladiator because he's the biggest. I'm not really using the Gladiator for any particular reason here. I mean, I think I probably am using him because he is sort of visually taller than the other characters. I do have the Sorcerer in this file just for kind of sample purposes, but since these are just for visual effects, doesn't really matter who I use right now. So I think I'm actually pretty happy with that stuff. I mean, if we zoom back and you imagine an effect like this occurring, I think it actually works pretty well. Might lighten that up a little bit. If this were the character, we're probably going to do a more reddish effect where enemies will be kind of a purplish effect. And again, like I've probably said a bunch before, this doesn't accurately simulate the effects in the game, really, because blend modes are different in the game compared to Photoshop and so on. So that's probably a slightly more accurate representation. Okay, so now I need to work on these a little bit. The thing with these is that they're going to probably just spawn in sort of a random direction, somehow positioned on the point of collision. Need to turn those tinting layers off so I can see better what I'm doing here. So we had one of these before that actually worked really well for slashing. That was just kind of a symmetrical wedge sort of shape. So, and of course larger, or like the more damage, probably the more of these, or the larger, we would spawn them to show that more damage was dealt. Actually, I'm going to pop open my previous damage mockup file, if I can find it here. I think this was in my style guides folder somewhere. Oh, this is an old painting guide. You can see the old, more cutesy version of the Rogue. My computer is going slow. I think this is an old... well... thanks for dying, Finder. Jeez. Okay, yeah, that's old stuff, we got all kinds of interesting stuff in here, actually. If my computer stops jittering so much. I actually did a colorblind test using a combination of an app for iPhone that you can hold up to anything, and it basically like removes colors to simulate various forms of color blindness. That and kind of bounced some things off of someone who actually does have color blindness to see which of these sets would be most appealing for 4-player mode. So basically, if people chose the same character class, they would have to show up in some kind of different color or have some kind of an indicator, so players could keep track of their character. But then also, if we're going to add these color palettes to the characters eventually anyway, it would be nice to make them available in single-player mode, so that those with forms of color blindness can actually see their character slightly better in the game. So I'm not really thinking of it as so much a like color customization option. We aren't going to do like 4 totally unique color sets for every character, but we're basically going to probably at some point, might be even after release, but as we approach the 4-player modes, taking each character and just colorizing their outfit into these 4 colors in addition to whatever color they normally are. So, we just take the assassin and like paint bucket all of the assassin parts to match these 4 different color sets. So not really a costume swap, and these colors are a little bit garish on purpose, just so you can kind of see what's going on the screen a little better. But anyway. So back to finding my... I have no idea where I put that. I really, really don't. I know this is the most entertaining thing you could possibly watch on a live stream. Oh, this is kind of interesting, but we've looked at that stuff before. So, yeah, so I don't know where I put that. It was a long time ago. I was doing some sketching for what it would look like if a character got hurt. Oh, this is kind of interesting if you guys are curious. These are the different sketches for all of the attack states that we have. Sorry, the zooming's kind of weird. So you can actually see, probably going to have to, no, I guess that's as good as it gets. There's kind of a weird cropping job on this. So yeah, so this is basically slash and arc and overhand. You can see here on this side. So when you slash with certain weapons like maces and larger swords, you make an arc around, cutting like a pretty big pie wedge, 3/4 of a full revolution. Arc is your normal short sword slash, and it's a shorter arc like this. I think we had to remove the scaling up as you went out, so I think it actually is just a perfect, actually like a half circle pie wedge is what it ends up being really. And overhand, you just swing something down and bam, it hits right there. 360 spin is pretty obvious. You start with, if you're facing this direction, start with the sword extended all the way to the back and do a full revolution. Come back to the end here. Thrust, you can see you start with the weapon kind of held back to your side. Of course, all these are facing down, just so you know. And then thrust outward. And we have to kind of angle the weapon so it ends up being perfectly aligned with the character's center point. And then shoot, when you draw the weapon, you kind of swing it forward, hold it out here to the front, as if aiming in your charge or ready state. And then when you fire, there's a little bit of kickback, and the weapon kind of goes back to its default position. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting, but not what I'm looking for still. I might have this on my desktop somewhere, there's no telling. Okay, yeah, I did find one on my desktop. It's not layered though. So this is what I was kind of wanting to shoot for, but some of this isn't actually going to be possible in the exact same way, just with how our blend modes and such work. So we'll see how close we can get to this, but these were the kind of simulations of the slash marks that I had done previously. So this would be an update. I kind of like those little trailing bits that come off of it, so we'll probably go ahead and do that. And let's imagine that there were a couple of these. And these would, of course, animate. So, yeah. These had kind of even more effects. I was thinking about doing this sort of burst backwards off the enemy. And, I mean, here I was wondering about doing it forward, but I don't know, looking at this again, maybe bursting backwards might make more sense. The one thing I'm adding is this kind of POW, like point of impact, which I think will be important. actually going to drop this in here for reference. Very low resolution by comparison. I don't think I have that on my desktop, so I don't know where I would have put the original PSD. Oh well. Let's see if people are still with us on Twitch. The colored slash is called streak. In our databases, I assume is probably what you mean. Which I think streak is actually something else in the database on spells. This would be a damage effect, but I don't know. I don't actually even. I think Kobe's gonna like hard code these being attached to things since he has to determine the damage type, but they've got to have a spine file and all that stuff. So these would occur on slashing damage. So now I need to figure out something for piercing damage. So let's drag this down here. I was thinking for piercing it might be really nice if you get sort of this, you know, something that kind of looks like a puncture. Oh, apparently I did that on the wrong layer. Whoops. So the one thing I'm questioning about all this is this this kind of white damage mark. I mean that if that occurs anytime you damage anything, it might get old pretty quick. But if it happens really fast, I mean it's really just like a flash of visuals to help indicate. I mean we've already got some like white sparks and stuff, so that stuff would obviously still occur. This would just help to kind of solidify. Oh, like that was the point of impact. Whether it's, you know, actually precise or not. So I'm imagining like if he got shot with an arrow or stabbed with a spear, it would look something like this. Okay, so I like that pretty well. Let's turn this back on. So that's, well, minus the collision box. I can get rid of that because it's not really important. That's what it would look like if you got pierced with an arrow or a spear or what have you. So So now we should do crushing, which is probably going to be a little harder. I mean, crushing is actually would probably just look about like this, but I might make it a little more circular. So let's see what we can do. I'm also kind of color coding these. Each damage type has kind of a soft, almost pastelish color, not to be confused with the elemental colors, so I may have to tone these down a little bit as a last step. But I thought I'd try it out and see how it worked. Or, I mean, the symbol for crushing is something kind of like this, as if there's a hammer kind of crushing down like that. So maybe I can do something kind of like that. The only thing is, crushing is kind of this default damage state that occurs in a lot of different instances. So I think I should probably make it kind of like a boxy, circular-ish shape. I don't know. I wonder if it needs a little something kind of like that. I mean, this would also occur if there's like a hammer strike on the ground. So I may just make this like a larger version of that little point of impact inside. So I might have to do something through animation possibly to show that crushing damage was done. so that it looks a little more like that icon I was drawing before, like this sort of blunt shape. And that's not really too bad. I should probably bulk it up a little bit compared to the other shapes down here, though. I don't know, I kind of like it. Like this sort of, it has this squarish sort of shape. Trying to go a little more angular on the inside. And then maybe as this bursts apart, I can do something that's kind of like basically sort of subdivide this into sections and have the piece kind of fly off in a shape sort of like that. Or actually, maybe I could do something like this and just have several of them fly off in random directions. That might work better. So let me just finish drawing this really quick. I do kind of like this effect though, but I'm wondering, can I simulate it through multiple versions of a shape like this so it could be distinct each time? So if I move this away, and basically if you did crushing damage and had, say, like a few of these spawn in different sizes, that might be kind of cool. And they could sort of flatten out. I'm also imagining, like, if you threw a pot at something, those effects bursting. Like, it looks a little bit like fire, but I think in practice we could animate it so, like, as it flies away, it kind of, the effect flattens out a little like that. So it almost feels like an impact wave. We did something like this early on for the explosion, which I think was fairly successful. Just having like several iterations of this single effect burst in kind of a ring. So let's maybe go ahead and flatten this out a little bit to begin with. Okay, so I think that's probably pretty good. I mean, each of those shapes is fairly distinct. Maybe this one needs a little more kind of splay here at the front to make it even more distinct from the from crushing. So it feels a little more like it's radiating outward. Maybe I could put some sort of side-by-side streaks here. Let's see. I should probably catch up on some comments here. Looks like there's a bunch. Um, so backing way up, yeah, Doom, this line right here, that would be for like the weapon streak, something along those lines. Where these marks here and there would be the slash damage marks, and then all this kind of pink junk underneath would be just a generic damage effect to show that the goblin got hurt. So even if the goblin, hit a wall going fast enough to cause damage because of an explosion or something, we'd throw this effect on them again. Even if it didn't necessarily do a specific damage type or something like that. Although we might be doing crushing damage for those kind of like impact damage type things. So now I need to do arcane and have to figure out what I'm going to do for elemental. Elemental's probably going to have to use another elemental effect, like I don't want to have to animate like flames and ice and everything. I mean, I'm already going to be doing some of that, so we will probably layer two effects together. One that's kind of a generic elemental, like poof, you just got hit with fire, and then throw licks of flame on top of it. And yeah, there will be audio cues for the different damage types, or, different damage that'll be put on different weapons, basically. Okay, cool. I guess I've answered most questions, looks like. When do you guys want to make a guest appearance so that I can take a break for a second? You want to take a guest appearance on the stream so I can take a break really quick? What's that? Get over here, Matthew. You can tell them how horrible my art is or something. I don't know.
I can tell them. Okay. What? Okay. Hello. Yeah. So just to let you know, I was kind of like halfway paying attention, but yeah. Maybe I'll go to the questions actually. And yes, I was totally joking. I'm not just gonna throw in a bunch of the pucks in there. No, that'd be mean. I kind of actually want to show you guys well, this is weird. Sorry, just so you know, I'm not used to like using an actual mouse. One sec. If I can find it. I have these little card things that we're making for packs that we're handing out to people. Yeah, I might not be able to find that right now, actually. In fact, I'd have to upload that first. Sorry. Fortunately, it's also kind of difficult to find everything on the screen because there's a lot of windows open. There you are. Okay. Hey, Doom. Yes, that's me. And my giant hat today. I know you haven't seen with this gigantic hat on. Okay, cool. Hi. Save me. I was gonna find something, but I kind of like lost in like all the windows right now because you work in a lot of different segments. Hi guys again.
Oh. I think he was going to show you a promotional little business card he was working on for basically to just be able to hand out at PAX or wherever. So yeah, this is the design. And we'd obviously put the Delver's Drop logo there above the Rogue on the front. So yeah, something to carry in our wallet, and also a what was that?
No, I was just like.
Oh yeah, I just pulled it out of Slack. Yeah, we usually pass out these postcards at PAX, but we had a bunch left over last time. Probably just ordered too many, but it's always hard to estimate. And but we decided to just we'd been talking about doing a business card size card for a while now, so that we could just personally carry them around. They're kind of easier to keep track of and all. Oh, something I totally forgot is we might want to do a QR code on them.
Oh yeah, totally.
Just like down in the bottom or a corner or something. The only thing is, like, it'd probably link to the same thing as that, but it might be faster for some people. I don't know.
Scale is a big thing because sometimes you can't see it. Like sometimes it doesn't pick it up.
Yeah. Why don't you plug a QR, or at least figure out a space to put the QR code, maybe in the bottom corner or somewhere. You might have to squish some things, but yeah, see what you can figure out, and then I'll dig up our customizable QR code for you at some point. Doom, I think he's wearing a hat because it's really cold in here today, even though I turned the air up. I'm not sure if our heater's actually working, and it got really cold in Missouri again. So, does it feel really cold in here to you guys? Yeah, like I already turned it up once. It said at like 75, and it never got any warmer.
See, it says it's 76 in here right now.
Yeah, I don't believe it at all. It can't.
It's colder now.
My feet are like 40 degrees. It can't be 76 in here. I keep my house at like 65 usually, and this is colder than my house. So I think the thermostat must be like 10 degrees off, or I don't know. Are you just like breathing hot air on it, Matthew? So so it thinks it's really warm in here, but really it's just Matthew's breath coming out because he sits right under it. I don't know. Okay, well, so now I need to do arcane damage and some kind of elemental effect, or generic. I like to say elementally agnostic effect for magic. Although, I mean, we could, since we've got this effect going on, I could do a variant of that, or like a bigger version of that, and just tint it when elemental damage occurs, and then throw what we're calling flicks, which is like a little flick of fire, or a little flick of, lightning spark kind of thing. So, I mean, that might work just as well. Like, if the character gets hit with fire, I can kind of imagine, like, when the fire damage occurs, there would be a bunch of little, like, well, the screen would not go completely orange, maybe only partially orange, but, like, little, things of fire kind of coming off of him, like this, and this might be tinted. So, I mean, that would probably work pretty well if you just got hit with a fireball or something. I might want a slightly larger effect than what this is, but the size could also be determined by damage or something, I suppose. Yeah, Doom Speaker was suggesting make the spiky ring physical damage and a smoother, like, circular ring elemental. Yeah, that could be kind of cool. Let's see if I can come up with something. Because, yeah, I mean, a lot of the elements are kind of spiky, but there might be some way to make a more, I don't know, like, somehow make this look less like a kind of physical cartoon POW mark and more along the lines of something magical. I mean, honestly, maybe it could be more pointed. Like if that were physical damage, and I would obviously like change the color. Let's see, desaturate this. So let's see if we threw this on. I mean, that's not too bad. I still kind of like this one better. Probably just partly because it's more white though as well. Brighter. Let's go ahead and do Arcane though while I'm thinking about it. And Arcane is kind of a soft purplish color. And I'm thinking since it's Arcane is basically non-elemental magic damage or sort of invisible physical damage. So it'd be like you do internal damage to the enemy. It's kind of like Force Crush or something, like Vader choking someone out. And its symbol is kind of this moon type thing. Something like that. So I was thinking about using some kind of a curved, like a Nike symbol kind of thing, just which would happen in a weird direction. So this could get, turned around in whichever direction. I was thinking either this or maybe like claw marks, kind of like invisible claws striking, but I think this would kind of seem pretty cool. I just want to avoid making it seem like Slash, I guess. But usually, actually, I wonder what if it sort of went the other way? Like, what if, you hit with a scythe or something, and it goes, like sort of, you get this arcing, like almost like a sun flare kind of effect. Could be kind of a cool magical effect. I guess the other thing though is a lot of the stuff doing arcane. It's like the spirits are probably going to do arcane damage initially. They might also do muddle damage, so I may switch that around. We're still kind of working on the elemental damage type system, but I kind of like this kind of weird like arc of energy popping out. Something kind of surreal. So maybe it actually kind of starts in this little burst-like shape. I don't know. Maybe something similar, but it should just kind of arc in this like cloud of energy instead of kind of cycling in a direction and looking like a slash mark. So maybe it's just kind of this poof of energy really that shoots out. Reading the comments here really quick. Kind of like that. So you might actually, if there's a lot of arcane damage done, you might actually get a couple of these kind of shooting off like that, which would be pretty cool in combination. I mean, just looking at, you know, this area here. And I'd probably want the elemental effects to have like a similar kind of meatiness to them. So I might have to amp up the kind of the density or the size of the flick effects. So, well, let's maybe do a little test and we'll try something magical. I mean, I guess the magical effect would probably occur on the on arcane as well, even though it's I mean, it's sort of in between physical and magical damage, whatever. But I mean, like that sort of thing would, I think. I sort of like this shape, but that might occur on a status effect. So instead of, damage, this is kind of like, oh, you got hit with slow down or whatever. Um, I think I had a folder for that way down here somewhere. Actually, I think it was probably wrong one. Yeah, let's throw that in with Aura, because I rather like that. Because I already did an effect for enchant, which would be like, oh, you have the status effect that hits you, like you just slowed down. I almost forgot I did that last week. And then, but Aura would be like a continuous effect, like, so you might get hit with an enchant, like you're now slow, but then the Aura would stay around you. So it would first, do this effect with, the particles kind of animating down for a debuff or animating up for a buff, and then this Aura would appear, sort of glowing and wobbling and so on. Maybe add a couple little magic-y things on the edges. Okay, let's shut those off. Yeah, I mean, that, I don't know. I don't really like that all that much. Well, apparently there's a hole in that. Yeah, there we go. Keeps paint bucketing outside. I mean, that could work. Just not a huge fan of it, especially as sharp as some of the magic effects are. Or I could think of it just as a shockwave. Throw this off to the side here. Although, I kind of feel like this should actually be the other way around. Because that, I mean, it sort of looks like a shield or something. So... So it's really, I mean, it's not that much different from this, but I mean, I could see this occurring if you get hit by a projectile, I suppose. But if you just take, like, if you just ran into a fire, I think I might still just show this, like, you know, you just took damage. But I mean, actually, that might be a nice way to animate these two together. So go from, you know, this frame 1 to frame 2. So I'll hang on to that. Okay, so let's just do elemental flicks. I think that I've sufficiently exhausted my my ideas for any other kind of specific magic damage effect. So we will just throw fire and ice and crap like that on top of this. And I mean, I guess one way to think about it is that these different damage particles for crushing, slashing, all that, they really are kind of the same thing as elemental flicks. They just happen to be for other damage types. I mean, it's all damage, right? So save that. I need to pull up a different file where I had some of the stuff I was working on. I think this is the right one. Okay, so these are all of the elemental types, and we've got a rune for them here, and then I started drawing basically the flicks for them way back here, and then this would be if they had a light or a glowy effect, you know, what colors to use for that glow. So I was trying to work out things like, okay, fire should, you know, for fury should be kind of orangey yellow in the center. I want to do something like, actually this has been turned into spoil. Why can I not write? Come on. And I didn't quite finish this. It's a little too fussy. So, I mean, basically I'm going to be taking elements of these and turning them into the flicks. There are a couple that I wanted to do some revision on, though, before I get to that point, so I'm going to do that really quick before I move over back to that other sheet. This one just needs to be really, so I'm going to throw this off to the side. I keep copies of everything because I'm anal like that, I guess. It's just got way too many pieces. Kind of combine some stuff here. Actually, I may make this kind of a rising sort of thing, almost like bubbles kind of coming out of a swamp. I mean, nothing else really uses that shaping. I guess don't want to make it too similar to Force here with these kind of cloudy shapes, or obviously Fount, which is sort of splashes of water. But I think these shapes will be pretty unique. And it's kind of this combination of like angular, almost angular streaks, and these more spherical forms. So I might actually keep those, like the bubbles, fairly angular. So it could kind of be like rocks, or some kind of sludgy stuff, or it could be bubbles. I almost want this kind of mushroomy, like kind of like fungus growing sort of effect as well. Doesn't look quite as sinister as the old version, but I'm sort of liking where this is going. So I might make it a little more angular. Yeah, I think that's the ticket. So kind of bubbles, kind of fungus, slightly angular, but all curvilinear. And those angles help to give it like a little more of a sinister quality. Yeah, the swamps will still be called spoil swamps or spoil sprawl or something kind of like that. So yeah, I'm trying to, while keeping like a similar art style, honestly, this might be the one that's kind of the most, like it's a little too perfectly spherical, but I guess that's not a horrible thing. I mean, it was kind of hard to make those two differentiable, like smoke versus kind of these currents of air, so might make some of these a little more wispy. And just so anyone knows, or if you haven't been watching the whole time, these are, I mean, it's basically kind of a style guide for what it's going to look like when you perform magic. So yeah, these are our elements. I mean, each one can kind of be boiled down to your typical, like, obviously strike is lightning, force is kind of wind and weather, surge is a little more ambiguous. It's I actually sort of changed it slightly. Like originally, well, it's called living waves, but it's supposed to simultaneously represent sort of like the life cycle and but it's most specifically expressed as like plants and algae and things like that. So I need to do something to this to actually make it look a little more leafy. Because right now it definitely just looks like waves, which I mean I do want the wave effect, but was kind of wanting a little bit of a green leafy look as well. So most of your healing spells will be in this element. I don't know if I like how this is going. Let me back up a little bit. I don't know. I'm not sure I really like how this is going. Subdue, I wanted to make a little more pointy, but that's about it, so that's an easy one to tackle. A little more icicle-ish. Um, yeah, see, I like that this has this kind of pool, that it sort of seems like this, I mean, like I want this idea of like pool, wave, tree, kind of all combined together. This is looking like a just swirly leaves. So let's try a different technique here. I'm going to dim this way down and try drawing over it instead of erasing and redrawing pieces. So I want some of these kind of arabesques, but I need to counter them with some kind of shape like that, so it feels like a leaf. Because if you do too many, just like these sort of things, it just looks like, water or whatever, like this one here. So I'm trying to figure out a way to combine those shapes. I mean, really, that's what all of these are, is just kind of like coming up with a shape aesthetic that, regardless of, well, I mean, there's kind of movement suggested, obviously, but if you just took one of these pieces and sprayed it out as a particle, would it feel like the thing it represents just by this sort of abstract shape? I mean, fire and lightning, obviously a little easier. And this, I mean, sure, I could just do leaves, but I want something a little more interesting than, like, literally having leaves. And yeah, people were suggesting some stray leaves, so I will probably do several of those. And I was intending to as well, just was probably working a little too hard getting the overall shape down. We're probably going to go for about 10 more minutes here, and then I will end at around 5. Tricky thing is making this one seem like it's not violent. I mean, you can do damage with it, but there are probably going to be fewer damaging spells than healing spells and so on. That's not too bad. I still kind of like the original here. It seems a little more unified in terms of the shapes used. So maybe I can kind of combine the two. Kind of imagining like what if these were just round leaves rather than like your, typical leaf shape. Or at least most of them were. Kind of liking this one because it's got similarities to the original, which I liked, but like this one feels almost a little too angry, which I was trying to get away from. This one might be just about right. It feels kind of leafy, kind of wave-like, about halfway in between. See you, Matt. Let's see. Okay, guys, well, hit me up with any last minute questions if there are any. Otherwise, I'm probably going to shut down the stream in a couple seconds here. Okay. All right. I'm going to end the stream here in a second. I got kind of absorbed, even though I said I was going to end at 5. Let's see. I didn't happen by chance to have a new attack animation. I guess you're talking about the cut attack animation we've been talking about, or something with weapons, possibly. I I don't personally have anything because I haven't been animating the characters. Kurt's been doing that. I think he's still wrapping up the Beastkeeper. Had to do a shoot animation state and I think 360 spin for the Beastkeeper. And then at some point he'll be starting on the Assassin, hopefully. So, but yeah, we're going to probably end up adding one more animation state to the characters. Compared to that, the doc I pulled up earlier, which had like slash versus arc versus 360 spin, all that stuff, and it's called cut, and it's a very narrow wedge. Like right now we just have arc, which is a 180 degree wedge, and slash, which is a 275 degree wedge, and then 360 obviously all the way around. So cut's like a very narrow 30 degree, 30 degree section directly in front of the character that we're going to use for whips and possibly pole arms and some stuff like that. So, but I don't know when it's going to be done, and then it has to be imported into all the other characters. You need something, Kobe? Okay. Kobe's heading out for the day. Has to go pick some people up, I believe. So, anyway, I think I will sign off for now. Hopefully I'll finish this stuff up soon, actually do some animated effects for these. I mean, I think that's pretty good for Surge. Like it's a little more leafy than the original, less kind of wave shapes. So between those two, yeah, I mean this one I think works a little better. Are those the same? I just barely edited this one. I'll just delete that because it's so similar. Yeah, that one was... These two, I think, are a little too leafy, like a little too shrubby. So I might do a little more work, adds a couple more leaf-like forms to this. You know, maybe some little spike up there. Or something like that. Kind of like that. Might be getting a little on the detailed side, but not bad. So, anyway, we will close up shop for now. Looks like no more comments. So, yeah, be sure to check out our forums. If you guys want to know more and talk to some cool people who are in this thread or in the stream chat. I don't know if Visay is around to drop the to drop the link on there. Hopefully I spelled pixelscopic correctly that time. I've been known to leave a C off because I type fast. Alright, so this is Ryan Baker from Pixelscopic signing off. Tune in every week on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. To see me draw more for Delver's Drop. Thanks.